Alright, Guna. Just imagine you're sitting in your room, everything's going fine, you're gooning off, and suddenly, आपकी किडनी में heart attack आता है. You're rushed to a hospital where you have a great doctor who has understanding, knowledge, and experience of conducting surgeries, and he's ready to operate on you. But, a man comes forward, he faces the crowd and addresses them, and that man goes, भाइयों और बहनों, मैं कन्विंस हो चुका हूँ कि मुझे परमात्मा ने भेजा है और मैं इस बच्चे को ठीक करूँ. And the crowd goes nuts. Crowd goes crazy. They vote for this guy, and everyone decides that this man is supposed to conduct a surgery on you. What do you think the outcome's gonna be? Yes, my fellow Guna, you're going to get unalived because of a heart attack in your kidney. You see how stupid this sounds? That everyone selectively, consciously decided to ignore the more competent person for this job, and they chose the person who is just more persuasive. This, my friends, is exactly what's wrong with democracy. This is what I will be mansplaining you in this video. How democracy is bad and what exactly is the solution for this. So in this video, I'll be talking about the philosophy of the OG philosopher Socrates and his student Plato, who wrote a book called The Republic, which I was reading just recently, in which Plato has heavily criticized democracy, and he talks about democracy as a flawed concept. So what exactly is democracy? If we see in today's world, democracy is just a populist leader who is elected by the opinion of the majority. Everyone gets a vote and everyone's vote holds the same value. Equality is everywhere. Everyone is happy. It sounds good, right? So, why was my boy Socrates against democracy? Well, you see, when Socrates saw politicians talk about topics like justice, ideal state, courage, he questioned them. That was his entire method, the Socratic method, where he questions a person's opinion and he keeps questioning them until they reach a conclusion. These politicians, they collapsed within minutes. They weren't able to give proper reasoning behind their opinions. Socrates feared this thing, opinions that were just in the air, baseless opinions. And if we see today, the majority of the population is full of idiots. They are fucking idiots. They don't know anything. They don't have knowledge. And yet they choose a leader. The main flaw in democracy is that the leader that we choose isn't always the most competent one. We choose a great speaker over a great thinker. We choose a person who is more persuasive over the person who is more competent. And this is where democracy fails. In the book, my boy Plato talks about how a democracy transitions into a tyranny. What's a tyranny? It's a kingdom run by a tyrant who is an evil leader who can do anything in order to maintain his rule over the nation. What does a tyrant do and why is he bad? Well, the first thing that the tyrant does is use violent ways to suppress his opposition. The tyrant will use the institutions of justice and the instruments of the state to suppress his opposition. He will do anything in his power to stop the people from questioning him and his methods. The second thing that the tyrant does is redistribution of wealth. So what do we understand by redistribution of wealth? When we hear it, first thing that comes to our mind is take from the rich and give to the poor, right? Everyone would have the means and the resources to live a good life. But the exactly opposite of this happens in a tyranny. In tyranny, there is an upward transfer of wealth. What happens is the tyrant takes from the masses and gives the wealth to the much more politically powerful people. And another thing that the tyrant does is control the narrative. In today's day and age, it would be buying up the media houses and constantly show broadcast news about how good the nation is doing and how we are not at all collapsing as a nation. This was the biggest fear of Plato. He was never actually against democracy itself. He was against this idea of democracy transitioning into a tyranny, a regime which is supposed to be for the people, by the people, is now converted into rule by a single person, by him, for him, and for his friends and allies. So, what's the solution? So, according to Plato and Socrates, the solution is the regime of aristocracy. Plato proposed aristocracy to be the rule of a philosopher king, the person who is trained under logic, ethics, and who has deep understanding of justice and what a just society and an ideal state should be. He is not some dumb fuck who talks about religion, casteism, language, and all these small things. He talks about justice, development, a just society, an ideal society. If an intellectual person even comes forward to propose this idea, he would be condemned by the people. That's exactly what happened with my boy Socrates. He was killed by the majority vote of the population in Athens. And this makes us think like what exactly is happening in our society right now. Is our society exactly democratic? Is it an aristocracy? Or are we moving towards a tyranny ruled by a single person who buys media, who sets the narrative, who uses the institutions of justice and the instruments of the state to suppress each and every person who goes against them, who stands for the truth? What happens is that in a democracy, in a tyranny, there is no more objective truth. The objective truth in a democracy becomes what the people believe in, and in a tyranny, the objective truth is the narrative that the tyrant sets. So there is no place for intellectual people who would actually question these beliefs, these opinions of the tyrant and the masses. He would actually be condemned. So, what's the solution? I don't know. Kill me. I don't want to live in this society anymore. Aristocracy is the solution. Will we ever reach and find the solution? I don't know. Maybe the upcoming generations, the Gen Z, would change this narrative.